because you look at their defensive metrics and they are bottom in the league in basically everything in terms of goal prevention. So whether it's a forward that is a forechecker and a 200-foot player, whether it's a defenseman that helps you reinforce on the blue line, whether it's goaltending help, anything that helps keep the puck out of your own net.
Let's do shopping lists this deadline week for Eastern Conference teams. I'm going to give you the team, I'm going to give you their projected cap space, and maybe a little rundown on their draft pick situation. And we will throw around what should they be looking for, starting with, in the Atlantic Division, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are projected to have $2.9 million in cap space at this deadline. They do not have a first-round pick, but they have their firsts in the next 2 years, 26 and 27, and they've got their second and third this year. What do you want for them?
I want the worst for them, genuinely speaking. But I mean, if you have a shopping list, I think you probably want a defenseman. I think that you would maybe want some Chris Tanev insurance, just in case they say he's day to day, I believe, but you can never believe day to day in Toronto. So. Yeah, maybe a little reinforcement on the defensive side. That's always a good idea for the Maple Leafs heading into the playoffs.
I mean, money would need to be retained. Risto?
I mean, respectfully, as a Leafs hater, wouldn't hate it.
Go crazy.
I vow to, when we discuss these trades, let's say if there's any certain this guy to that guy, or this guy to this team situation, we have to commit to at least one for getting a jersey. So I will say right now, and maybe I'll add more, if Rasmus Ristolainen is a Toronto Maple Leaf, I'm getting that jersey. That's going to be the funniest article of clothing ever made.
I will say, maybe he is the missing piece for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because one thing the Toronto Maple Leafs don't have, as far as I know, is a former Buffalo Sabre. So, Maybe they are what each other are missing.
We could check that. Could make for some very fun revenge games. The Florida Panthers, who, as I mentioned, have $8.71 million now with Matthew Tkachuk on LTIR. They famously do not have their first-round picks in either of the next 2 years. They don't have their first, second, or third this year. But as I said, what they do have is an absolute crap ton of cap space. Obviously, the top of their shopping list should be a goalie. Now that Spencer Knight has been traded, who is going to back up Sergei Bobrovsky? Let's not forget also, Pete, it was just 2 years ago that you didn't even know if Sergei Bobrovsky was going to be your guy in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that he's going to go back to that. He's won a cup since then. God bless him. But that's not a team, I feel, that can just say, fuck it when it comes to the backup goalie.
No, and like, no disrespect to Chris Driedger, but like, I don't know if he's the guy that you want in that spot. They seem to have some faith in him, but I would feel much more comfortable if you got like a mid-level backup goaltender just for insurance.
You know who my guy is? I put it in the rundown on
Dan Vladar.
Dan Vladar. Perfectly just put the sumo wrestler in the net. Yeah. They definitely can fit him. $2.2 million. He's a UFA at the end of the year, so they can have a nice little run with him as insurance, and then he can frick off when he's done. How about the Tampa Bay Lightning? $6.05 million in cap space, which I'll be honest, is confusing to me. I did not know they had it like that. You think they need help up front?
I do. I think they could use a little bit of scoring depth. I would love to see a Brock Besser in Tampa. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I know this would absolutely never happen, but what if in some planet they were able to get Rantanen?
I mean,
Carolina is not moving him in conference, but they'd be able to fit him. He's under, I think he's like $4.5 million or something with money being retained. Washington Capitals, the darlings of the Eastern Conference, they, in the offseason, just went out and got everybody. So they actually are a little more stacked than you certainly would have thought at the end of last year. They've got $3.5 million plus in cap space. They've also got 2 second-round picks and their first-round picks in each of the next 3 years.
I don't expect the Capitals to do a lot.
I don't either.
Or anything. maybe they make a trade or two. I don't expect anything significant. I think you just heard too much about how good that room is, how good the chemistry is, and just you look at how good they've been and consistent all year long. Why rock the boat too much when you don't have to?
Yeah, let's do the Carolina Hurricanes, who do not have cap space. They made that huge move in which they brought on Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen. They've got under $500,000 in cap space, so anything they add, money would need to go out. Very interesting thing at play there is that they could move Mikko Rantanen, who, yes, is making $4.625 million against Carolina's cap because his money was retained. So, what do you get, assuming you can free up some money for the Hurricanes?
Another team that I would just like to get some goaltending insurance because I think that they like what they have in Pyotr Kochetkov and Freddie Anderson, but I just don't know how much I'm trusting either one of those guys over the course of a Stanley Cup run in the playoffs. And it's going to be very hard for them to get anybody that makes me feel like really good about it going forward. But like if they could find some way to get John Gibson, I would love it for the Carolina Hurricanes. Money's going to be difficult. Making that trade's going to be difficult. I don't particularly see it happening. But that's a move that I would really like for them. I think that Carolina has done this so many times where I would feel very uncomfortable going into the playoffs, being like, fuck it, let's see what happens with the goaltending. And that's kind of how I feel with this current tandem that they're running.
Who loses their job?
Who loses their job?
Yes. Is this a Freddie Anderson thing? Is this a Pyotr Kochetkov thing?
Well, I mean, the most realistic scenario, I think, would be Kochetkov starting, and then you turn to Freddie Anderson if something goes wrong there. But like, is Freddie Anderson going to be healthy by the time you get to the playoffs? That's always a question mark. And he hasn't exactly been a great playoff goaltender in the past. So like, fuck it, we'll see.
I just need Pyotr Kochetkov in my life always, even though
Chat
our
says
friends,
Jonathan Quick. That would make sense.
I like Jonathan Quick's name coming up because that was a guy that teams were just dumping recently. The New Jersey Devils have $2.58 million in cap space. They have the Columbus Blue Jackets squarely on their ass right now as the Blue Jackets are giving chase in the Metropolitan Division. They potentially could have Jack Hughes' money to play around with. They've got $2.58 million. Otherwise, they do not have a first-round pick. Is this a Brock Besser team?
It certainly could be. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think they could use any scoring help they can find that helps reinforce the lineup. And if you're able to use, let's hope Jack Hughes is not hurt for a long period of time, but like, God forbid he has to go on LTIR, you open up the possibilities there. I just think they need scoring help. They need wings. Like, they have just been flat for a little bit. And so any way you can get that scoring help.
I've got an idea for this team that is just absolutely dripping in cap space. I'm talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have over $20.5 million in cap space. By the way, these cap numbers are either from Puckpedia or Spotrac, so if they are wrong or if anything is not being accounted for, yell at me, the messenger. Or don't yell at me, the messenger. Yell at whoever you want. Just don't use hate speech.
Yell at DJ.
Yeah, yell at me. They've got 2 first-round picks and in 2025, and then they've got firsts in 2026 and 2027. They do not have a second, but they've got just 1 million picks over the next few years. This from Pierre LeBrun today. The Blue Jackets continue to get calls on Ivan Provorov. We talked about him so much at the beginning of the season, and we'll keep listening, but at this point, it would probably have to be quite the offer for Columbus to move the pending UFAD while sitting in a playoff spot. Likely take another run at contract talks. Meanwhile, CBJ still looking to add a forward as well. What would you be adding for the Blue Jackets if you were Don Waddell?
Anything that helps you prevent goals, because you look at their defensive metrics and they are bottom in the league in basically everything in terms of goal prevention. So whether it's a forward that is a forechecker and a 200-foot player, whether it's a defenseman that helps you reinforce on the blue line, whether it's goaltending help, anything that helps keep the puck out of your own net, because we know that the Blue Jackets can score, and yeah, they'll probably get some help when Monahan is healthy and back on the ice. Like, they're a banged up team right now, but damn, keep the puck out of your own net, especially in the playoffs.
I do not know how long Cole Sillinger is out for, but that did not look good, and that was a real big bummer. I loved for them that next man up stuff. You lose, I think he was playing second line center, Sillinger, just given Monahan being out, but you lose, we'll say a middle six center, and who scores the game-winning goal for you? Justin Danforth. Next man up. Absolutely love that for them. I agree with you. I agree with both you and Pierre LeBrun, who LeBrun leans. They're looking at forwards. You say defensemen. Sean, hit me with some Spanish.
Por qué no los dos?
There you go. Unbelievable.
They got the money.
They've got the money. They certainly have the space. They can do it. So for them, you know who I like? A guy who can play a little center himself. Not very good. Not right now. Friend of the show. I like Trent Frederick for the Blue Jackets. He's American. That's really the only thing that they
Play
care
college
about.
hockey.
College hockey, American, but that's not all. Because what right defenseman could they get?
Brian Carlo?
Yeah. I got a little more fun one.
Rasmus Ristolainen?
Rasmus.
Get him. How is he
Risto.
getting traded to 17 different teams?
I mean, by the time his career is done, he will be traded to 17 different teams. So let's just start that now. He makes $5.1 million against the cap for this year and next. It could be a little Provorov insurance. I know it would not be exciting for a lot of people. I don't hate Risto for them.
Chat loves Brad Marchand to the Columbus Blue Jackets. That would be unbelievable.
Well, because I was just going to say is I feel like them more than anybody have to really weigh the like fucking up the vibe in the room type of thing. And I think you don't really have to worry about that with Marshy. Like, if anything, he just elevates that.
I would get that jersey so fucking fast.
Yeah, I would get a white Blue Jackets Marchand.
I don't know
Blue Jackets, white Blue Jackets, Cannon Blue Jackets.
I don't know how many Brad Marchand jerseys I would get of like a team that wasn't the Bruins. It would just feel weird and gross to me, but I would definitely get a Blue Jackets jersey.
Brad Marchand in the Cannon would be unbelievable.
I mean, I got a Brad Marchand Canada jersey. So all bets
Crazy
are off.
behavior.
By the way, he's not on Team Canada right now. He's on the Bruins. So could Fanatic? You think that I could get Fanatics?
Jersey
That would be
assurance for 4 nations
insane.
would be incredible.
That's what we need to do. Jersey assurance for 4 nations. It'd be like, yo, I got like a PLD Screaming Eagle for this. I don't need it anymore. He's not on the team.
We've gotten this far, and you still haven't gotten a PLD Screaming Eagle.
I thought about that after I filled out the Jersey assurance form. I was like, ooh, there's a lot of things I could have done. I could have gotten Pete a Kiefer Sherwood jersey. I could have famously gotten my lovely friend their first Oilers jersey. But famously, we're going to Edmonton. I want that to be an IRL purchase. I want that. I want to see this wonderful person just like
really
pacing the walls, being like, you know what? What if I were the only one with the Troy Stetcher jersey? And I'd be like, don't get a Troy Stetcher jersey.
I would support a Troy Stetcher jersey.
Oh, Sean
Coyote
would be
legend, Troy Stetcher.
amazing. I like that every time we bring up Jersey assurance, Pete's like eyes glow and he comes up with like another idea on top of it.
I just briefly, I just thought about this. We will be able to get JJ Peterka and Leon Draisaitl Team Germany jerseys next year.
Oh my god! I don't like that face.
I don't like it in the vacuum, but valid.
Wow. Oh,
You could get whatever you want. You can get a.
I will.
You can get. Well, you get.
I can get a second chance at my Quinn Hughes jersey.
True.
Yes, that's gonna be. Hey, people. There's been a lot of white whale talk recently. Like, who's your white whale for the podcast? The white whale is just going to end up being not a guest, but that Pete gets a Quinn Hughes USA jersey and that it's appropriate.
Yes.
Let's wrap up in the East with the Red Wings, who are still in a playoff spot. They've got $13.57 million in cap space. They've got their first, second, and third round picks for each of the next 3 seasons. They've got 2/3 this year. There are some obvious spots. Pete, give them to me.
They need scoring help. They are a bad 5-on-5 scoring team, and they only score on the power play. It's weird. That's not going to be successful in the playoffs. I think they need help down the middle, especially Andrew Kopp. They need a Kopp replacement. That's what's a Kopp replacement?
A sheriff?
Yeah.
Social worker.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. There you go. Yeah. They need a Kopp replacement. They need a social worker. They're just one of those teams that seems like the Winnipeg Jets were in this spot for a while where it's like every year you were talking about like, hey, who's going to be their second line center? They need a second line center that they can acquire at the trade deadline.
Sean Monahan.
That is the Detroit Red Wings.
We all silly like the mayor.